Hello, everyone. My name's Evan Doran, Associate Editor at Modern Machine Shop, and I'll be your moderator today. Today's webinar, New Innovations in Precision Measurement to Unlock Peak Productivity, will be presented by Farzad Azimi and Nick Russo, both product managers at MAR. Their presentation will focus on recent developments in height gauge and contour measurement technology, with discussion of effective use cases and process optimization. If you have questions for our speakers, please use the Q&A box on the right side of your screen. As a reminder, today's webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing shortly after today's session. With that, I'll turn it over to our presenters. Take it away.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. My name is Farzad Azimi, and here you can see my face when I was younger. I'm your presenter for the first half of today's webinar, and we'll be talking about what height gauge, Digimar 816 CLT height gauge. The topics that I'll cover today are what is basically a height gauge, the specifications of our new version of the height gauge, the hardware updates and the software accessories. And at the end of the webinar, we'll take your questions. So what is a height gauge? To put it short and briefly, it's a gauge that you use before you start your machining to set and mark a certain height on your workpiece, or after your machining is done, to measure the workpiece and make sure that it meets the requirements. Mars digital height gauge family. Here you can see the three different versions or models that we have. The first one, which is the most basic one, is 814 SR, which is a manual scribing measuring height gauge. The next one, which is the focus of today's presentation, is 816 CLT 1D, that comes in two different versions, 14-inch and 24-inch. And the last one is the 817 CLT, which is a 1D and 2D height gauge that comes in 14, 24, and 40-inch versions. So these two are basically the newest versions of the previous models, which was the 816CL and 817CLM. And the focus of today's presentation is that 816CLT1D. So what has changed from the previous version to the current version? Well, to summarize it, we have improved the specifications of the height gauge. It's got a new design and it has a new software. As you can see here, the looks are completely different. And this little guy has now turned into a 10-inch Windows-based touchscreen display that we will talk about every one of these topics in detail in the next slides. Specifications. Okay, what has changed? Here's a side-by-side comparison between the older version, or the previous version, which is discontinued, and the existing one. And basically, almost all, if not exactly all, of the specifications have improved. We have now more resolution and more options for resolution to choose from. We have a 45% improvement in the error limit. The repeat errors on planes, bores, and perpendicularity all have improved from the previous version. The battery performance has gone up by 40%, which is in my opinion, impressive. And also, because of the new design, the weight has been reduced by 6 to almost 8 pounds, which makes it easier to operate and move around. So now, in terms of hardware and the changes, that this height gauge 816 CLT has a completely new design. As you can see on the left side, the weight reduction is achieved by using a stable aluminum column instead of steel, and therefore that 6 to 8 pounds weight reduction. improved clutch design, and therefore the improvements in the specifications and the repeat and accuracy errors that we saw in the previous slide. The battery has gone up the 40% and is now up to 14 hours of operation time. You can see this touchscreen 10-inch Windows-based display. There's an interface here to be used with millimesh comparator for perpendicularity measurements. And also the display is now tiltable. It's not fixed at an angle. It swivels up and down. The handles have been redesigned so that there's a nice ergonomic handle on the left and right side. And on each handle, you have an air bearing actuator or air bearing activation button. As you can see here, the tilting display goes up and down in this 816 CLT model. The ergonomic handles are shown clearly here. And here's how you move it around. You just press the air bearing button and there's a layer of air that helps move the gauge around the granite table. In terms of software updates, basically this is a new Windows-based user interface. It is extremely user-friendly. All the functions and everything are pretty intuitive and self-explanatory. Super easy. I don't know how to make it even easier, but it's super easy to understand and work with. It allows you to program your gauge either by a teach-in procedure that uses the existing measurements in sequence and creates a program for you, or you can start from scratch and drag and drop your functions in a blank sequence mode and then save it as a new program. We'll see that in a few minutes. It's got, thanks to its Windows-based interface, it's got an integrated help menu. So your help menu, instead of being printed out and by the machine, is saved now on the screen. You can activate it and click on any of the functions, any of the icons, and there's a menu that pops up, the help menu that pops up. We have animated calibration process to make it even easier for the user to start the gauge and start the calibration process. The gauge is capable now to create reports in PDF format with the company logo. You can configure the output, the format of the PDF, however you wish, and you can also transfer the results either with a wireless printer or using a pair of eye sticks. You can use the Marcom Professional software and export your data for any post-processing purposes. Software can be updated by user very easily. You can check MAR website to see, to look for the most up-to-date version of the software. You can download it on a USB stick and just upgrade the gauge in a few minutes. In this new version of the height gauges, calibration takes place in the unit. There's no additional software necessary, which makes it very easy for the calibration purposes. And you can also use other MAR hand tools to connect to this gauge to collect the data and export everything at once using either the printer or Marcom Professional software. Here's a breakdown of the display, different sections of the display. You have your most recent measurements, bigger fonts here. The previously measured values are listed down here. Big functions with pretty much intuitive icons down here. For example, this one is measure the surface from below, measure the surface from top. And you have your online help here. You click on it, and then you, for example, press on this icon here. There's a menu that pops up that'll explain what that function does and what is the correct way of using it. This arrow will move you to the next page of functions. So there's going to be another icons for perpendicularity measurements here, cancel, confirm, everything is pretty self-explanatory. So that's I just wanted to show you what the display looks like. This is a 10-inch display. We talked about Marcom. By the way, Marcom is free to download and use, and it works with all the most of the hand tools that Mar makes, and also with this height gauge, you can pair it up with the Marcom, set up or configure your data export. This is an example of an Excel output, and then export your data and do any sort of post-processing or for your records. You can do that easily with Marcom and this height gauge. The connection is wireless. Another option that I talked earlier was for you to be able to create your own programs, either with the teach-in procedure or starting from scratch. Here's a kind of a step-by-step guide. You have all your functions that you saw on the screen, on the main screen, here listed down here. If you start from scratch, there's going to be a blank page here that you just click on the icon and move it up on top and drop it here. And then you set the nominal values, you set your tolerance values. These are going to be shown on your PDF report. And if you don't want them, you can just drag and remove them from the procedure. Super easy to work with. You can save these programs on a memory stick and move it to another gauge. So, you don't have to do it on and on if you have multiple gauges in your shop. Examples of the data export. You can see this nice, beautiful PDF report, basically, of your measurements, color-coded with all the details. Here you can save these and print them later if you wish, or keep the digital copy. Here's an example of a perpendicularity measurement in a PDF. You can use the logo and the machine serial number, operator, everything. You can configure this report. And these two are the examples of the text data export. And accessories for these gauge, gauge, basically, these are compatible with the previous version and also the most current version, 816 CLT, the complete probe set, the eye sticks for data transfer with Marcom, your millimeter comparator for perpendicularity measurements, and it's a high precision gauge, so it should be treated accordingly. So these are the granite plates that we have for our height gauges, and also the wireless printers, the cables, and the indicators also used for perpendicularity measurements. With that, I know I speak fast, so I'll wait for you guys at the end of the presentation for your questions, but I will now leave this to Nick to continue the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. So my name is Nick Russo. I am also a product manager at MAR, focusing on metrology systems. So in my part of the presentation, we will be talking about what's new in surface finish and surface in general metrology. So the first one is the portable skidless unit, the M410. So something like this is appropriate for sometimes when you not appropriate for a skidded unit. You've got a intuitive scratch-resistant glass touchscreen controller to dictate your settings and your parameters. You can start the measurement at the simple touch of a big green button on the display. It's got a robust drive unit housing and probe protection that allows it helps to prevent any damage to components where the probe magnetically mounts. and can sometimes release before falling off and causing any major damage. This protection is even one more layer on top of that. We've got an optional wireless printer that allows you to immediately print your measurement without needing to connect to a PC or be near a PC. So some other things you can do with the M410, you can disconnect the touchscreen control and prop it up on a kickstand for more restrictive applications, or put the drive unit on a stand to raise it for some larger parts, or use a cross table for some more flexible fixturing. The measurement result PDFs are generated inside the M410 and can be viewed and printed on a PC without any additional software. So you would simply plug the M410 into a PC as if it were, a USB drive, and you can access the PDFs and view them with your standard PDF viewer. The memory capacity of the M410 allows for hundreds of profiles and PDFs, and you can also put in a micro SD card for more capacity. So the M410 is also compatible with the Marcom software that Farzad had mentioned previously to keep a history of all your measurements and to export data. And the probe attaches with a simple 3-point magnet and allows you to swap probes easily without needing to recalibrate and without any tools to remove the probe from the probe system. So some nice features that will allow for the easiest and most reliable results include automatic probe zeroing, arc elimination when measuring on a radius, and automatic cutoff selection. You can evaluate all parameters on a single measurement, not just RA or RZ. If you need more parameters, you can evaluate as many as you want on a single measurement. The probe system has a 7.6 nanometer resolution and up to a 1.5 millimeter measuring range. You can also use a barcode scanner to automatically begin measurement programs related to certain parts that will confirm you're using the proper programs, proper parameters, and everything is already predefined. You can also connect the M410 with an optional easy roughness software package, which allows you to directly control the drive unit and the measuring and the measurements from a software package. And with Easy Contour, a software package, you can evaluate micro contours such as step heights or depths of small pieces. So the skidded, equivalents of an M410 would be the M310 and PS10. You can see that physically they are very similar. The main difference between an M410 and an M310 really is just that one is skidded and one is skidless. So they have all the same user interface to be able to easily use one if you've already used the other. So in some new products in our Contour line, be the CD140AG and AF. The AG has a 350 millimeter manual Z-axis. We've got a coarse Z-axis adjustment right here and a fine Z-axis adjust on the bottom and on the top. With an X-axis stop protection right here to prevent accidentally hitting the drive unit into the table. So it is impossible to collide the drive unit with the tabletop. You've got a 140 millimeter measuring x-axis and a 70 millimeter measuring probe axis. And it comes equipped with a 60 millimeter TY axis that moves in and out, allowing you to crown your parts. And that has an area of 390 by 450 millimeters. And the handles on the side allow for easy movement of the gauge. So this family of contour machines are designed for simple, quick manual measurements and can be used in either production or laboratory environments. So, as I said, it comes affixed with a table plate. This table plate is 50 millimeters on center, allowing you to reuse already existing CMM fixtures or allowing you to easily design new fixtures. Using just two simple stop rails ensures that your vise, V-block, or other fixture is in proper alignment with the drive unit. And you can also add something like a delta block set where you can design modular workpiece fixtures in different configurations. So just like the roughness probe system, the Contour also has a 3-point magnet for easy probe swaps. It's the same situation. Change tips as often as you want without needing to recalibrate and without needing any tools to perform the swap. And there is also adjustable probe force built into the software without the need to use weights to change your probe force. On the side are just a couple of examples of different probes that you can use with a machine like this. For example, a large stylus, a large 62 millimeter stylus, or a small bore probe, or a ruby stylus for some different applications. So the CD140As can also measure diameters with a twin stylus probe. So you can see instead of one tip just coming out of the bottom, there's another one coming out of the top, where we can measure one side of the ID or OD, measure the other side, and then compare the two profiles to see how large the diameter is. And again, a couple of different probe options on the side here for very small diameters or something a little bit bigger. An additional capability with add-on roughness software, a CD140 can also measure surface finish. And in general, you can use this for surface finish if your RA is greater than 2 microns. It doesn't have the resolution of a dedicated surface finish drive unit like the M410 does. It still has very good resolution, but it's not a dedicated roughness drive unit. So this will allow you to measure both, contour and surface finish within one measurement. And lastly, you can also perform automatic evaluation of threads with add-on thread software. So once you measure a thread with a single stylus, you can measure flank angles, pitches, height, straightness of flanks, and root radii. And with a twin stylus like you saw before, you can measure all of those things plus all of your diameters, your major, minor, and pitch diameters. So we'll automatically evaluate all of those things on your thread and give you an output of each individual measurement, plus a overview of the average values within that thread. So the little brother to the AG machine is the AF machine. It uses all the same probes as the AG. It has all the same software capabilities and additional options that the AG has, like surface finish and measuring threads. The main difference between these two machines comes in the hardware. So the AF has a fixed Z-axis. So there's no adjustment in the Z-axis, and it makes this system ideal if you're measuring the same parts in repetition without needing to move your drive unit around. It comes with a 175 by 50 millimeter table plate. This one is 25 millimeters on center, and a stage that allows you to raise parts to the probe axis instead of moving the probe axis to the part like we were doing on the AG machine. And then this would be available at a lower price than the AG. On the other end of the spectrum is the CD140 or CD280. This gives you a bit more CNC controls and more automation in your measurements. So it's available with either a 140 or 280 millimeter X-axis, with a motorized 350 or 600 millimeter Z-axis, and comes with a large granite base with an optional isolation platform below. You've also got an option for a motorized wide table axis to move your parts in and out, and a touchscreen control panel with a joystick. So the addition of the motorized Z and Y axes allow you to place samples on the table, walk away. All of those movements occur automatically based on the program that is written, come back, and the measurement and evaluation will be complete. And one more step above that would be the VD140 and VD280. You get all of the benefits of a CD machine that we just talked about, but this one also includes a higher resolution surface finish probe system that allows you to easily switch between contour and surface finish measurements. If you're trying to get surface finish values, RA less than 2, where the CD probe system isn't quite sufficient for that, you can go back and forth between both contour and surface finish measurements with the VD machine. And with that, we thank you for your attention. You can see our contact information on the slide up right now. Feel free to contact either Farzad, myself, or orders@mar.com as a general inquiry. And all of the systems that you saw here today are on promo right now through the end of the year. So feel free to reach out to us about that. And now there are also, those promos are in the handouts tab of your presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and Farzad and I will answer them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nick and Farzad. Again, as you just said, we are now transitioning into our Q&A period. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A box on the right side of your screen to submit those. It looks like, first off, what can you do with data export with the free Marcom software?
So you can pair your gauge with the Marcom software and export your data. Now, there are different formats of your data export. You can send it out as a text file. You can send the data out via Marcom to an CSV or an Excel file. And we can also pair it up with SPC, third-party SPC softwares like ProLink, the one that QC Calc. So you have different options. Marcom is a powerful software, and I have to emphasize on the free section of it even more, that allows you, you can configure your virtual COM port. So if you're it's got many capabilities. So, but yet the main thing is that you can send the data from your height gauge or from all of your hand tools, more hand tools, and export them with different formats for any post-processing purposes.
Sure. And we have another question. What does calibration entail for surfaces?
So for a surface finish, both surface finish and contour is only a matter of minutes to perform a proper probe calibration. Both systems will walk you through a guided operator sequence on what you need to do. For surface finish, it's just simply measuring a roughness patch, 3 or 5 times, and applying some correction factor with what it measured versus what it should have measured. With a contour machine, we use 2 different size spheres. We measure those size spheres, and the guided operator sequence will walk you through the entire process on where to place the probe and what you need to do. And both of these tasks are only a matter of minutes. And again, you can, on both machines, change probes as often as you like without needing to recalibrate each time you change a probe.
Sure. And then we have another question about, can you tell us a little bit more about the optional software for the M410? What would be some use cases for that?
So the Marcom software, as far as I mentioned, you get all of the benefits of the Marcom software. With the Easy Roughness software, you have more insight into customization. You can dictate specific filters. You can write guided operated programs and inserting pictures and tasks that the operator needs to complete in order to successfully measure the sample. So it gives you, there's really no limit on what you can do with the full Easy Roughness software. It's basically tailored to whatever application you're using. But the thing that people use most are the ability to create those guided operator programs on how to successfully measure the sample and have more control over filters and outputs and automatic export to specific network drives, for example, instead of having to bring the M410 back to a PC later to print the PDF. You can do that automatically with the software and export it to a specific drive on your PC for reference later.
Sure. All right. We just had another question come in on what kind of part sizes can you measure with the contours? Or sorry, rephrasing that. How big of a part can the contour itself measure?
So it's a bit of a loaded question. So it depends on which axis we're talking about. So the CD140A family has a vertical measuring range of 70 millimeters. So that means your probe can deflect a maximum of 70 millimeters before running out of measurement range. And it has a 140 millimeter drive unit. So you can take a maximum trace of 140 millimeters. If that's not quite big enough, then you can go the step up to the full CD 140 or 280, which allows you to have up to a 280 millimeter measurement, and your probe measuring range can also increase with the CD 140 or 280 up to 100 millimeters of measuring range. So it's application specific, but there's a solution for it.
Sure, thank you. All right, going to give just a few more seconds if we have any more questions coming in. Remember to use the box on the right side of your screen if you have any questions. All right, it looks like we have come up on the end of our questions for today. If anyone has further questions or wants to learn more, feel free to contact Mar directly for assistance. Thank you again to Farzad and Nick for speaking today. As a reminder, today's presentation has been recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing shortly after we finish today. With that, thank you for taking the time out of your week to listen to us, and have a great rest of the week.